The morning began like any other on the set of Good Morning America, with the familiar rhythm of producers rushing between segments, camera operators adjusting lenses, and the air filled with the energy of live television. Yet, something felt different that day. There was an edge of tension backstage, a spark that no one could quite name but everyone sensed. Steve Harvey, known for his commanding personality and quick wit, was scheduled as a guest to promote his latest project. Michael Strahan, the beloved co-host, was set to handle the interview, a pairing that promised good television. But what followed wasn't just good TV, it was explosive, unfiltered, and unforgettable. Steve Harvey arrived at the studio early, immaculately dressed in one of his signature tailored suits. He greeted staff members with his usual charm, cracking jokes, lightening the mood. However, a few people noticed he seemed unusually focused, even stern. "Let's make this one real," he reportedly said to a crew member, half smiling. Those words would soon prove prophetic. As the countdown to his live segment began, producers noticed Michael Strahan flipping through his notes, glancing over potential questions that had been approved by Harvey's team. Everything looked standard: career highlights, his new project, and a few lighthearted topics about family and motivation. But just before going live, Strahan reportedly decided to tweak the direction of the conversation slightly, hoping to draw out what he called authentic Steve. The show cut to commercial, and as the cameras rolled back in, the familiar upbeat theme music filled the studio. The hosts exchanged friendly banter before Strahan introduced Harvey. "Joining us this morning, a man who needs no introduction, the king of comedy, television icon, and best-selling author, Steve Harvey." The audience clapped enthusiastically as Harvey stepped onto the set, his confident smile lighting up the room. The two men shook hands warmly, and for the first few minutes, everything seemed smooth. They joked about Harvey's busy schedule, his hosting duties, and even a funny story about a recent Family Feud taping. But when Strahan pivoted the conversation to a more personal topic, things began to shift. Strahan leaned in slightly, his tone soft but deliberate. "Steve, you've been in this business for a long time. You've had highs, you've had controversies. There've been times people criticized your approach, especially how outspoken you are. Do you ever look back and think you've gone too far?" The room seemed to pause for a moment. Harvey's expression froze, just for a second, before he composed himself. He chuckled, but the laugh didn't reach his eyes. "You know, Mike," he began, "when you've lived as long as I have, and worked as hard as I have, you stop caring what folks think. I don't live my life for social media comments. I live it for real people." Strahan smiled, trying to keep it light. "Totally fair. But you know, there's also the argument that public figures have a responsibility, right? To set examples, to be careful about what they say." That was the spark. Harvey's eyes narrowed slightly, and he leaned forward in his chair. "See, that's the problem right there," he said, his voice firm but calm. "Everybody wants to tell a grown man how to live his life. I've been setting examples before half these people even knew how to spell responsibility. I don't answer to Twitter. I answer to God, my wife, and my family." The audience applauded, some clapping enthusiastically, others sensing the growing tension. Strahan nodded, but pressed on, perhaps thinking he could steer the conversation back to a balanced tone. "I respect that, Steve, I really do," he said. "But don't you think there's a difference between being authentic and being controversial for the sake of attention? I mean, that line gets blurry sometimes." Harvey's demeanor changed instantly. His smile vanished. "Are you saying I do things for attention?" he asked, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. The studio fell silent. Strahan, visibly taken aback, tried to clarify. No, not at all. I'm saying, sometimes people see it that way." Harvey interrupted, his tone rising. "See, that's what I'm talking about. People see it that way. People always got something to say about Steve Harvey, but they don't know me. They don't know the years I put in, the grind, the failures, the lessons. I'm out here building something, and folks want to twist it into a headline." Strahan attempted to interject, but Harvey wasn't finished. He gestured toward the cameras. "Let me tell y'all something," he continued, addressing both the hosts and viewers. "Every time a black man gets to a position of influence, somebody tries to pull him back down with words like controversial or arrogant. I've been hearing that for decades. I worked too hard to let that kind of narrative define me. The tension was now palpable. Producers behind the glass looked alarmed, signaling the control room to cut to a lighter segment soon. But Strahan, a seasoned professional himself, wasn't ready to give up. "Steve, nobody's trying to define you," he said calmly, keeping his composure. "I think people just want to understand you. You're a complex figure, funny, inspiring, but sometimes misunderstood." Harvey leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and said quietly but intensely, "Misunderstood. Maybe because people keep trying to understand me through their lens instead of listening to what I actually say." There was a long pause. The crew could almost hear the hum of the studio lights. Then Harvey, as if realizing the cameras were still live, forced a smile and said, "Anyway, Mike, you're good at what you do. You ask tough questions." Strahan smiled uneasily. "Just doing my job, brother." "Yeah," Harvey said, his tone suddenly sharp again. "Sometimes the job ain't about trying to get a moment, it's about respect." And with that, he stood up. The audience gasped softly. "We done here?" he asked, looking off camera toward the producers. A stage manager hurried forward, gesturing frantically for a commercial break. The broadcast abruptly cut away to a sponsor ad, leaving viewers stunned. Off-air, things reportedly got even more heated. Witnesses backstage described Harvey pacing, visibly angry, while crew members tried to calm him down. "He felt blindsided," one source said. "He thought they agreed on the topics beforehand." Strahan, meanwhile, stayed seated for a moment, collecting himself. When Harvey eventually left the set, he reportedly muttered, "I came here to talk about my work, not to be dissected." The atmosphere backstage was thick with unease. Some staffers said they'd never seen Harvey that upset on live TV before. Others sympathized with Strahan, who had tried to walk a fine line between journalism and respect for his guest. When the show returned from commercial, Strahan addressed the audience briefly, maintaining professionalism. "We'll be right back with more Good Morning America. Sometimes conversations get passionate, and that's okay." But viewers at home could feel the awkwardness. Clips of the moment quickly began circulating online within minutes, with fans debating who was right. Some argued that Strahan had overstepped, suggesting his question felt like a setup. Others felt Harvey's reaction was uncalled for, saying he took a fair question and turned it into an unnecessary confrontation. By midday, the incident was trending on social media. Hashtags like #SteveHarvey and #Michael Strahan were flooded with opinions. "Steve just spoke the truth," one fan wrote. "He's tired of being labeled." Others took the opposite stance. Strahan was just doing his job. Harvey overreacted big time. The debate spilled into entertainment talk shows, with analysts dissecting every facial expression, every word, every gesture from the exchange. Some media experts suggested that the tension between Harvey and Strahan reflected a broader issue: how celebrity interviews have become battlegrounds for authenticity versus image control. That evening, neither man directly addressed the confrontation. Harvey posted a cryptic message on social media: "Sometimes silence is the loudest response. Keep it real, always." Strahan, meanwhile, appeared on his other show, Fox NFL Sunday, looking relaxed and smiling, though he avoided any mention of the morning's incident. Sources close to both men later claimed they had spoken privately to clear the air, but it was clear that the moment had left a mark on both their professional reputations. Insiders say the producers of Good Morning America held an internal review afterward. While no one was officially blamed, the discussion centered on how to prevent such blow-ups in the future. "We live in a time when everything is magnified," one senior staffer reportedly said. A single moment of tension can become global news within minutes. Yet, despite the behind-the-scenes unease, the confrontation boosted ratings. The following day's numbers showed a spike in viewership, particularly during the segment featuring Harvey. For Steve Harvey, the incident reinforced his image as a man unwilling to compromise his convictions for media expectations. For Michael Strahan, it was a reminder of the delicate balance required to ask tough questions without alienating guests. Both men walked away with lessons, different ones, perhaps, but meaningful all the same. And for audiences, The exchange was a rare glimpse behind the polished smiles of morning television, revealing the raw human emotions that simmered just beneath the surface. In the days that followed, as headlines began to cool and social media moved on to new topics, both Harvey and Strahan continued with their respective careers. But those who witnessed the moment firsthand say they'll never forget the electricity in that studio. The way two television giants, both charismatic and confident, clashed not out of malice, but out of deeply held beliefs about respect, authenticity, and truth. It was live TV at its most unpredictable, where the script fell apart, and what remained was something undeniably real.